Jessie, a fourth grader, kid. No, she's not doing good enough in history.
Okay. And a first grader. About two. That's it. Okay. Ashley Sankey. Senior. All as just.
Just a kind of open conversation about it's funny, my daughter won a trip to Vegas, her and her husband, and so we have our 2-year-old and 4-year-old grandsons at our house. And as my husband's retired, and as I was leaving this morning, he was like going for the TV. I'm like, no, 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 no. This doesn't feel right today, honey. And his words to me were, please hurry home. So, yeah, and then we'll hopefully have time for just some questions after and see what you all want to talk about. And if you're wondering, yes, we're related. Sonia and I, one of my nieces. It's very sweet having, yeah. My husband is her father-in-law's brother. There you go. It's a Whidbey thing. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So we did a survey, and we're not going to jump into the results of the surveys because we didn't let teachers know it was going to be public. But we're going to talk about the trends that we see. We kind of have some overarching, and we're going to kind of talk about the big picture of technology use. We want screen use to be intentional, not just something that grandpa puts on in the morning when or the teacher when they need a filler. You know, the idea of enhancing engagement, not again, just a filler or busy work. Really teaching the whole method of digital citizenship, which we'll talk more about. You know, that finding that balance between the real world experiences and sometimes, you know, technology can really assist that. Sometimes our fourth graders, they do a lot of studies around Native American culture. And we've had some really powerful Zooms with elders from different tribes in the community. That's an example of really extending learning through the use of technology. And then we do show some little short clips and things for fun, but on a really limited basis. And one of the things we're doing right now is talking more, and would love to get, that's part of the feedback I want to get from you today is like, at what point do we let parents know? That's one of the things we're talking about in building leadership team when there's a movie being shown or a proposal for something to be shown, not a full movie but yeah. At what point does parent communication come into it? Um, so digital have you all heard of that term before? Digital citizenship. It's really a part of the curriculum, honestly, K-12 around how do we responsibly use technology. Does anybody remember signing a little technology use agreement form? Yeah. We have every parent sign that, hopefully, and go through kind of what our expectations are. Part of that is children can lose use of technology if they have been not using it properly in the way that's described. So sometimes I'll have a student come in and say, I've got a report due and I can't use technology because I got in trouble for, you know, seeing something I should gone on to something I shouldn't have. And that's a really good lesson for them. So we It doesn't happen much, but it has happened. Do you want to talk a little bit about Securely, Kristen, since you've been in the classroom with that tool?
Sure. So Securely is something available to all teachers in our district. And what it is it helps us monitor what the students are seeing on their screen and what they have access to. So as a teacher, the way that I would use it, and teachers might use it differently, one way you can do it, the way that I like to do it, is if I'm with a small group and I can't walk around and monitor what students are doing on their Chromebooks, I can put up on my whiteboard and it basically it shows everybody's screens and what they're doing. And I know if I want everyone to be on iReady, I should see iReady. And some teachers wouldn't want to do it that way because you get a lot of reporters to tell you so-and-so just toggled off of iReady and they're on this or whatever. But for me, that's actually very helpful. And then another way that teachers use it, and that same idea of monitoring, but is you can put it on your own screen so it's not distracting to learners as they're doing their work. And you can also block websites from there, and you can, so let's say, I would like to avoid power struggles, but let's say a student is having a really difficult time getting off, that sometimes in these programs that are meant for learning, there might be a little play element to it. And then it's time now to redirect to what we're doing. And that can be hard for some students. You might have heard of Prodigy. That's a fun one that can be really hard to be done with. And I could just, I'm not going to get into a struggle with their Chromebook, like I'll put your Chromebook away, but I can just exit out of them and it will lock their screen down. They can't do anything on their device. So that is one way of doing it. Or if just like, well, we got to go, you can just like shut everybody's down real quick and move on. So there's a lot of different ways aside from monitoring that it's helpful. And then what's also nice is that you can get a report. You can go in and see what were your students on that day and address any concerns that might have come up through that if you had some.
I mentioned at the higher grades, Securely will actually notify the admin when a student research or looks up a certain word, like if they write in suicide attempts, admin's getting a notification that this student did that so that they can check in and make sure everything's okay. If they're researching how to make a bomb, right? They're going to know. And so that way they can do the follow-up with them.
And that comes to us automatically. It's a technology tool that advises us. And really I've had a number of those, even when a child talks about depression or anything that's concerning those concerns, we get an automatic message and then we can follow up directly with that student. Any other questions on that piece?
Can I? The way that I approached that was I am not going to go through after every session, but also the way I did mine was very, very visible and up. So I'm not like distracted on my computer. I'm like keeping an awareness of what's going on. Plus I have all my reporters. But if there was a concern, this student went on, there's a reporting of like, oh, this kid was on YouTube, or, hey, I noticed when I go back to look at your iReady, you haven't really done much work today. Like, what were you doing? And then that's when I might go and monitor it. But no, I don't think it's a practice of every single time that someone's on a Chromebook that we're going and reviewing. It's more of teaching the responsibility of how to use it, having the monitoring systems in place, and then going back and kind of digging in deeper. And that might look different across classrooms. And I think that's a good question for us to explore and see how teachers are using that.
Yeah, I would just add, we don't have any requirements for that for our teachers. But as Kristen said, typically after we do a coffee with the principal, I like to kind of share the content with our building leadership team and then kind of have a conversation with staff about these same topics. And so we continue to have conversations. We didn't get Ian Turner here today, our technology director, but Christy, are you able to speak a little bit about just what at the district level, how access to different websites and that, or is that definitely a, good morning, come on in?
That's definitely a Ian question, but I know we have a firewall, and so there are certain things that sometimes, like math games was once, I think that one's been taken off, right? Where the students were continuously, it looked like it could pass because it's math and it's a game, but it wasn't the math that they're doing, right? And so I think at one point he put a stop on that. They couldn't get into that site so that it wouldn't pass through. So there's different things. Social media is one that on their devices, they shouldn't be able to get into social media. Um, YouTube is very strict. Only the things that the school wants them to see are really the ones that are allowed to go through. Um, Definitely anything that's not made for kids is. There's a few, but it just comes up as things come up. Go ahead.
About what the internet safety education.
Push that and make it go green.
Can you say more about what the internet safety curriculum looks like in school?
Oh, I thought you were answering, I'm sorry. There is an actual curriculum. I can share that when we post this. Val Brown puts it together and it's delivered through the STEM program, Ms. Plouffe. But I can get copies of that. It's basically walking through some of these same things with students around expectations, how we use technology appropriately, kind of what the boundaries are. And it looks different at each grade band, of course. So it's a repeated, ongoing conversation with children. Do you have a question?
Good morning. Yes, so my
Yeah, we talked about that
Maybe you
before.
can get a list from Ian.
Yeah.
All the ones that are blocked. Slides.
Yeah, we'll put some follow-up information if there's questions we can't answer right now. So these are, so are all posted on the website. If you just go to the elementary school and type in Coffee with the Principal, you'll see all the topics, copies of the slides, and then any other resource materials. So we can add that to the resource materials.
One thing that I'm just now, oh, sorry, Todd, did you have a question about that?
What are the rules around email? Okay, because I know some students can email outside the building, some people can't. What are the specs on that?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that one as well, the email piece. I mean, I know it's
All I know
used.
is that kids inside the school, so I see Jesse email Kennedy now and then, Kennedy then emails me. And it's great having communication with my daughter at school because I don't want her to have a cell phone.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
email, of course, could also invite all sorts of other things. And so I was just, the second question was going to be, so I want to ask the second question because you can get back with the line. I don't have to come back to the well again. How do you filter that? So of course, like I say, Kennedy emailing me and saying, hey, I left my lunch at home or whatever is a great tool because then I can take care of it. But if she's emailing someone else, some other not so pleasant thing, is there a filter on that?
There absolutely is, because I've had Securely come to me with 2 student exchanges on email. So yes, it does capture, but the bigger question you've got, I want to check on is like, what are the boundaries around that?
Yeah, and I think email use might look differently at the different grade levels. So definitely like third and above, they're starting to use Google Classroom, and I get some Google Docs shared with me randomly, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, thanks for sharing that. And so as they're learning those tools, I think it just looks a little different. But K through 2, typically students aren't emailing, and if they are, it's like they've discovered it as something new, and there's not much content to it. So if that is something you're seeing in those lower grades, just let your teacher know. They shouldn't be accessing that.
And I do know, because I've been actually asking it on another level of keeping, because there's certain employees that don't need to be emailing with the public and restricting that so that their email is only within the district. Doing that for the students too, so that it's, especially at the younger grades. And I did check in with Ian, that is a possibility that we can do. We can constrict it to only the emails within that they can email.
Another thing I want to share with, I just keep cutting people off. Okay. I'm going to share a little bit about Clever, which is a resource that teachers use and students. So Clever, you probably know, you might know the little Clever badges that give you your student access to get into it. Well, each teacher has a page, and then on that page, they have specific programs or platforms that they would like students to use or have access to. And so that's another way. So we're not just having children go on and like, okay, type in this web address, but rather go into Clever. And then once they're in Clever, they're using one of those approved platforms or apps for the classroom that they're in.
Does that make sense?
A way that each student accesses that is they have a Clever code, which is a QR code, and then they just wave it in front of their screen and it gets them in. And then there also is like backup codes if they lose it. So that's something that is a really easy way for them to access. And teachers, again, can put things onto their Clever page. And even like, as a younger grades teacher previously, I would, maybe have 5 things on there. So it's not overwhelming and they know which one to go to. And then as things come up, like when we do our SEL survey or whatever, I'd put that on there and then remove it. So, and then as children get older, they might have more and more of those things available to them on their Clever page or, and then they have different, they have a STEM one, their main teacher, that kind of thing.
That was part of my question was what do they have access to in general? Like if there's blocking certain things, then on the reverse side, should they only have access to like it should be locked down and then they only have access to certain. How's it kind of set up? And is that Clever or is there access to other front doors to other things? Yeah.
It's typically through Clever that this is the portal. This is their way in. Typically. And then we also have our Google Classroom, which again, they would access that through Clever. And then any type of research or reports that they're doing in the upper grades would again kind of be through that same platform. So a teacher could say, on Clever, here is a website. I want you to go research about birds. And again, I'm speaking very second grade experience here. And then they can link into that way. And the upper grades, I think that'd be good to get more clarity on, just to find out how like 3rd through 5th is doing it. I imagine in 5th grade, as they're starting to introduce towards, what middle school might look like, that might become a little more sophisticated because you're not going to just have a page open on your Chromebook that suddenly is all the things you can go to. And so I imagine there's some kind of weaning off of that as they get older. I'll find out more.
And I'll just add that kids are pretty sophisticated with technology, more than some of us are. And so for all the filters and systems, sometimes things do come through that they should not be seen. And we look at those on an individual basis. Val Brown is our technology TOSA here at our school. And so when that happens, we immediately get in touch with her. She's the one that kind of decides, honestly, if a child has to be off of technology for a little while, depending on kind of what the situation was. Sometimes they do it inadvertently, and sometimes they do it intentionally. We had a conversation about STEM, that there is a technology rotation in STEM, and things have snuck through after that last conversation we had, finding out that particular, I can't remember the name of it, but that's been since removed as an option. So we love to hear from people because it's if you hear about things that shouldn't be happening, we want to know, because it's constant proactive is needed.
So I have to say that I think that your system for the most part works, because I hear my oldest complaining about, why can't I get to that site? Okay. So something must be working. Okay. But having an IT background, the challenge that this, and I have not talked to Ian. I don't know what he's into and all that, but the challenge of having everyone from kindergartners up to 12th graders and trying to figure out how to filter each one of those grades and in essence, each one of those children is a very significant challenge. I've been in IT in corporate world where we do have some filters on things, okay, but we pretty much assume that everybody's responsible and isn't going to stumble into something. Yes, they do, but the challenge that the IT department here has to try to do that is absolutely not trivial. Okay, it's probably one of the most tricky things to do. And I think they do a pretty good job. Things don't work now and then, but I think people are extremely responsive. I mean, Christy cringes every day when she comes in and sees my name in her inbox. Okay, and I apologize every time I do that, but I think they're doing a great job. I really do.
Kyle, you had a, oh.
I was just wondering if like a student crosses that boundary with technology, like do the parents get notified that their kid has done that?
It kind of depends on the severity and if we find out if it was intentional versus, you know, accidental, what the image, typically it's an image that will be seen. So if it's anything that's violent or sexual in nature or anything like that, I mean, that's very rare. Sometimes there's a term that will be used multiple ways and something will sneak through. I will always call a parent if it's something that I feel like a parent would want to know.
Sorry.
Yes,
One
no.
more question. Alongside the children's sophistication with technology, they're also very persuasive on specific applications and programs and games. And so the list that you were mentioning around these are ones that are prohibited is really helpful. And I wonder if there's even a way to maybe at a general level, not to put a lot of work on the staff here, but maybe calling out a couple specific examples of like, here's why this one is prohibited or something about this list that is the reason why it's prohibited. I'm sure I can talk to other parents too, but it'd be great like roadblocks.
Yeah.
My son loves it. I don't know anything wrong with it and I could look it up, but to know like this is why we're not having it at the school would be really helpful. And then I can consider, questioning how much use that would be at home.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
My second grader said that a friend got onto Minecraft and knows how to do it and says that he does do it sometimes in class. So is that the kind of thing we should like write the teacher and say, hey,
Yes, please.
Inga, let me know that this friend
Yes, please.
was getting, okay.
Yeah.
So,
specific
so be
with
careful
you.
because I think Minecraft actually has an educational,
Yep.
an educational version. So there's a general version that you might use at home and there's an educational version. So when you just hear Minecraft, ask a few more questions because that's actually been used as a reward where the kids can go and play Minecraft because they've done something good. I've actually seen that happen and the kids are all excited, but it says right there on the screen when they log on, Minecraft educational.
That's still a good question to ask too. Oh, okay. Yeah, one more question, then we're going to keep going just in case your question is answered through the
It
slides.
might be. We've talked a lot about parental and school controls, and I just would like to learn more about how we're preparing students to use the internet responsibly and how we sort of introduce them to technology.
Yes, and that's one of the things with our digital citizenship curriculum that I will attach when we post this, so you all can see that. The other one was the new one. So this just kind of gives a very big picture of what our digital citizenship program is based on. And then I put a link here. This is kind of the state focus through OSPI. And that's a link that you can click on after we post it, so you can kind of get a sense of the guidance that we get from the state level at different grade levels on what that technology usage should look like. All right, next slide, please. So Kristen, do you mind talking a little bit about this one? This is, we're going to kind of go through the 3 levels, the adopted curriculum for our district and how technology is integrated into that core curriculum, then looking at the extensions, and then the third level is kind of extra.
So Amplify curriculum is used K through 5 here at our school, and there's components of it that is digital, and it can be used depending on how the teacher is wanting the children to engage in that. So there might be activities where a student might be able to respond instead of in a journal or a notebook, that they might be able to respond within Amplify directly. And for some students, that could be speech to text type situation, or it can be responding to questions directly within the app. And this is ed tech. So this is, not games or anything, but it's really part of the curriculum, and asking questions and expanding on what has been taught in class, whether that be through knowledge in the younger grades or through our skills-based instruction. And then in the upper grades, 3 through 5, it's all combined together as their language arts instruction. So Amplify itself has some components of it, but then one of the bigger parts of Amplify is what you might have heard is called Boost. And Boost is the online platform that after students are assessed through their beginning, middle of the year, and end of year dibbles that we do, it's connected directly to Boost Reading. And what that does is it provides students, they're all on the same quest for each grade level, but then it's tailored specifically to their learning needs. So what if they're working on decoding, it's working on decoding. If they're working on comprehension, it's working on comprehension. And that is recommended through the publisher of Amplify to be used at least 30 minutes per week to see some gain in skills. And then I'll just continue with this. So iReady is very similar to that. So iReady Math is what we use here in the district for or at the elementary school. And so it's very similar to that Boost for English Language Arts or ELA, but instead we're focused on math. So students will have a diagnostic, and they'll be placed at a level that is appropriate for them, which by the way can be adjusted by the teachers, and they'll work on their quote, my path. Another way that iReady is used, which in addition to the pathways, that is their own path and specific to them, as the teacher might offer comprehension checks, or, hey, I want you to look at this assignment, and then it will kind of review or preview maybe an upcoming lesson. And then again, those comprehension checks that are really used in more of the upper grades to almost as quizzes or progress monitoring. Yeah. Yes.
Visualized in their own grade that they're in math and all of that?
Yes. So you could have, a second grader that's performing at a 4th grade level, and when they're in their path, they're working on things that are relevant to them, concepts that are relevant to them. And likewise, you can have somebody that is below grade level that needs some more skill building, and they can be working on that. And then again, the teacher can weave in grade level concepts of like, hey, I just want to make sure we all have this concept down, and then have opportunity to work on that as well. So you'll see teacher assigned, which is blue, if you guys are doing that at home, and those will be assignments that the teacher wants the child to do. And then the My Path, which is green. So that will be working at their own level.
And
Yeah, so I will connect with you afterwards, but one of the best ways to get onto any of the resources or ed tech that we're using in school is through Clever. And so having that Clever badge from your child's teacher is huge. And then you would just need a computer that has a camera integrated. Otherwise, you're going to ask for a code.
That might be a good topic to deep dive for iReady. Not only just understanding the program and how parents can help with the curriculum of that, but also to help our children navigate through it. I know my son had a really hard time seeing results go down when there was more discussion around, well, no, your questions are getting harder. It doesn't mean that you're reduced in your skill set. So conversations around results, how to really interpret it as a parent as well. Just an idea as a future topic.
That's a great idea. Maybe right after winter diagnostics. So we could actually look at some of the iReady and dibbles and different pieces. I love that idea. The other thing I was going to say, one of the things I like about the MyPath for both Boost and for iReady is everybody gets the same general direct instruction from the teacher, regardless of what level they're at. But the MyPath provides them a way to get really specifically what they need in a way that's private, I guess is how you'd say it. Nobody knows what path any other child is on, so they're able to really target where they need to be. But I don't know if you know, when I was a kid, it was like, you know, you're the low group, you're the medium group, and this is just a really nice way to kind of just level it for the students.
I'm just going to mention the connection to Clever is on the website. If you just go to the elementary school website and go to families, there's a link there. And so you can get to that, and then getting into your child's Clever, you have to have their code or their number.
My question is, you mentioned like there's two paths, like one what the teacher wants and one's what student the kid is. Like example, my child's really good in one specific area of math, but she really needs to say work on geometry. Is there a way to kind of force her to do that geometry? You know?
Well, as a parent, I say good luck. And as a teacher, I could say that what's really nice about it is that students will be tested in and then placed at their correct level, but teachers have the possibility of going in and say, you know what, yes, it has you on this path right now, and the progression is you're going to work through this domain and then go back to another domain. So geometry and measurement is one of the 4 domains in iReady. And so a teacher could go and say, you know, turn off all these other ones and we're just going to work on this. And so that would be just a discussion to ask your teacher to see how they're using it. Each teacher does it differently. I know back when I came, Sue Sage, if you know Sue Sage and you love Sue Sage, she's just amazing. And she had a different philosophy with me on how to use iReady, and it really worked. And so I just think have a conversation with your teacher, and it might be used differently in different classrooms.
As someone who spends too much time on screens myself, the amount of time that students spend on screens in school sometimes makes me cringe a little, but stuff like the iReady pathways and data insight for the teachers is so fantastic to see where every student needs that extra nudge, to see where the class needs some review. I've been really impressed with how the staff here has been using those insights, and it's made me glad that they're doing some screen time that I wasn't before. So.
Okay, so these are just some supplemental learning tools that we use. iExcel is a math-focused, has many options, but we use it for math primarily. What I really love about this is not so much lessons. So iReady will deliver a lesson, and then you have a practice, and then you have a quiz, and then you pass, or you maybe need to try again. With iExcel, there's different ways. Again, teachers can use it where it's based on the student's skill and they kind of get set on their pathway, or a teacher can say, you know what, we're all multiplying by 2s right now and everyone's going to be working on this. It gives instant corrective feedback, which when you're looking at ed tech, that is something that is really beneficial, and one of the best ways to have technology in the classroom is when it gives you that instant corrective feedback, and it might offer an explanation of why you got it wrong. There's a little video you can click on to see how it's done procedurally. And then the teacher gets data like, oh, wow, they missed 10 out of 15 questions. I need to go back and help them with this topic. So that one's really, that's a great resource that you might see in grades 2 and above. Epic is basically online books. So I don't want to say like a Kindle, but I'm trying to think what else it could be. But that does have some options. So for students that are not quite reading yet, as far as printed reading, but they do better listening to an audiobook, and then they can do that if the teacher allows it. And they can also just read books. And then there's sometimes comprehension questions at the end that teachers can assign. And then there is also an option where you can have it read along with you, and then it's highlighting the words. So what's nice about that is it's differentiated. So everyone can be engaging in that. The way that I offered that is, you know, there might be times where we're on Epic and or we're doing our silent sustained reading, which you guys might remember SSR. So we're reading a book. And so teachers might use that in a different way. But the idea behind EPIC is that we're using it usually for pleasure. Sometimes it could be for research. A teacher can assign books to students, and then they can use it that way as well. And then mystery science, that is more whole class. So that's not something that the students are going on to do, but the teacher is using it as a tool for instruction. And it's very great, high interest, inquiry based, and basically when a mystery science scientist leads the class through a discussion, and then the teacher is engaging with that and then has materials ready, and then you are doing science based on these lessons.
Yeah, what I love about mystery science is you get those experts in the scientific field, but it's not a passive thing for the students. They're very engaged. It's very hands-on from the student side of things. So it's that nice blend.
I'm not sure how many of these allow a family version, but I know Epic does because I have Epic at home and it costs, I think, $70 a year or something like that. And it actually gets connected back to Epic at school. You have to make that request to the teacher or to Val, I can't remember which one, but then you can have your kids doing Epic at home, much broader than what it is at school. And I think the kids like it. Okay. They are on it. And then I get a report saying, this is what you've read this week. And so now I know what each kid has read by week. And I don't know if there's other tools that do that same thing, but my focus was reading. So.
I'm thinking as you're talking to, that it would be cool for us to get a list for families of all these different that they can access through Clever at home.
Not just what's through Clever, because Epic, you can get it through Clever, but you can also get it at home. It adds some other features to it. And so-
Okay.
and I mean, I just did it as a gamble just to see if it would work, right?
Good.
And having somebody like school come back and say, and this one's worth it, this one's not, would be really nice. Or when it's worth it,
Yeah.
right? Because if your child was doing blah, then you need to do,
Thank you.
Or even just, this is what we're using so it can, what you're doing at home can connect to that.
Yeah.
I like that. One thing about Epic that was frustrating as a teacher is it's based on, I don't know, regional school times or something. So you would go to log in as a teacher at like 2:30 and it's like, sorry, you need that home version. I'm like, we're still in school. So that's where yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, we can get a list of the things that are available. Most will be available through Clever, but I think it's nice to have these lists going.
Yeah, and this is where we really wanted to get some feedback from all of you. It says rainy day recess, but I can't remember ever showing a video or rainy day recess because. Okay, yeah, that's true. Sometimes teachers will put Chromebooks out with a selected program. Yeah, we'd just love to get some feedback from you about at what point do you as a parent want to know if something's being shown. That, I trust our teachers. And I think it was really interesting with the screen survey that we did. The majority of teachers are like, my goal is to keep it as minimal as possible, especially in kindergarten and first grade. I mean, it's very minimal. They don't want to even do the diagnostics yet online. We do one version of that in kindergarten. Other students do 3 times a year of doing the technology-based diagnostics, but we only do one in kindergarten in the spring, just so they get a little bit of practice of knowing how to do that. So feedback from people? Yes.
I volunteer at the school and I've been volunteering for a couple of years. And then I also started subbing as a para educator because I kind of wanted to be more involved and I wanted to see what all the teachers were doing. And I'm in a lot of classrooms and I can honestly say from my own perspective that there's very little screen time in classrooms from what I've seen. And it's all educational from what I've seen, my own experience. And so they do a really good job. They really do. And if something gets passed, it's completely like unintentional. These teachers are on it. So I just wanted to
That's a nice,
Is
that's a
that-
nice little plug. Thank you very much. I'm just going to put a little plug in while you're talking about being a substitute paraeducator. We are always in need of substitute paraeducators, and it's such a great job for families because you can always say no. You'll get a call from Deanna in the morning, can you come in today? And we have a real need. I mean, especially this time of year, we've got unfilled positions because there's so much illness going around. And it really makes a huge difference when we're down paraeducators for our kids to have the support that they need. So just putting that little plug. Call Heidi at HR if you're interested.
I have a friend applying.
Good.
So I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but that first bullet, the occasional use for celebrations, I know it's occasional, okay? But I have experienced it once and I referred to it just a little bit ago, okay? And it was celebration for my son who had achieved something great. And the way it was structured was they actually pulled some other kids in and they had a little celebration. They got some screen time on Minecraft. And the effect of that as a celebration at school was immense, okay? It was staged by the teacher as you other kids that are in here because he did a great job.
That's
And
cool.
he wants you in here, okay? So there was a lot of camaraderie, friendship, admiration that was used in that, and it was an absolutely wonderful experience. I was there, so I was in the background watching the whole thing happening, trying not to let my eyes water up at times, because it was just really cool to watch that happen. And it was a phenomenal experience.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that, Todd. And again, that intentionality, right? That it wasn't just some random thing. That's the difference. Yep. I love that.
An example of how it's working well in my daughter's 5th grade class, they read the book Holes. And then today they get to watch the movie. And she followed up this week and said, if you don't want your child to watch the movie, email me to opt out. So it felt like every step of that was great. It's a reward, but it's still curriculum based and you have the opportunity to opt out. So I haven't experienced that consistently in all the classes, but that's a great example of where every step worked well.
Yep. Thank you. That's really good feedback.
I had a situation where I didn't get that feedback, but it was about Bluey. And so my daughter came home wanting to watch Bluey. And that was a fantastic choice by the educator because it's a fantastic show and delightful education. So the times where we don't get, or I've experienced where we don't get that check-in have all been things that have been, I'm totally okay with and grateful in some cases.
Cool. And I guess that's what our conversations have been with teachers is when is that magic that we should, that consistently reach out to families? Is it time? Is it focus?
I was just gonna say, I don't think there is a policy for that. I think we talked about it last time, if there is one or not, but if it's not approved, like pre-approved curriculum related, then is there an opportunity to inform the parent that this type of thing, media might be shown and just a heads up or, because I think that's great around the reward, but then if a parent doesn't want media to be a reward and have that relationship start to be, amplified, then is there a way that there can be communication around if it's not, academic related and approved? I'm curious what that process is. Is it just up to the teacher to decide we're going to show this?
It has been. I mean, that's why part of why we're having this conversation today is to get feedback from families about what should that line be when, and I like the idea of the passive, the teacher puts it out, but then it's up to the parent to reach out, not getting permission, but opting out because that would be a big burden on teachers to ask for that. Go ahead.
Okay, so maybe I'm not following. I'm a little confused because I did have something come home that said I authorized my kids to watch some sort of PG type thing. And I think at one point I even said to somebody PG-13, and that was not what it said. It said PG. And I made a huge error by saying that. And so by signing that form, I assume that I'm giving the teacher the ability to do that and I don't have to be contacted every time. Is that correct? And if you don't sign that form, then the child's been opted out. Is that correct?
But again, it's like that must be an individual teacher because that's not a school-wide process that we have in place. And I think that's what we're going for. It's like, how do we always make sure that, so one second grade teacher is doing it this way and a fourth grade teacher is doing it that way?
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
so I thought it was school-wide.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think in addition to that too, I mean, a PG movie, there's such a wide spectrum of what that could be. One PG movie could be completely appropriate for one child and the next could be very inappropriate. So I think having the upfront, whether there's a blanket statement in advance, but a timely notification of this is what the children will be watching this week. Again, that option to then opt out. So teachers communicate and then the parent can respond as appropriate would be really helpful.
And from the school board perspective, the board tries not to have policies that are different at different schools because we want to leave those differentiations to the educators. So I don't believe that there is a school-wide policy about movies or anything like that. I wasn't able to find one. So that would be a procedure at the school level that Ms. Richards is talking about putting together.
Yeah, I think like my sister's in Shoreline, and if a teacher wants to show anything, it has to be approved by the administration and a notice sent out to the parents if it's not pre-approved.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to figure. What makes the most sense for our school, our community?
Yeah, I'll just echo what was said over there too. Like my son had a movie that was going to be shown in the class. And so the teacher sent like a little piece of paper in the folder and saying exactly what movie it was and opt out. And it was really helpful because my son's super sensitive to like what he sees.
Right.
And so we were able to watch it before and he was able to like, okay, we had to pause it several times. And he was like, okay, I think I can do it. I can watch it, but it was really helpful to be able to like
Yeah.
preview it instead of like, oh, because it was some serious, like Disney movies sometimes can have some serious like back story about parents dying and all, so it was I was so grateful that the teacher did that. And I think it definitely should be like every teacher
Yep.
should send a little like, hey,
Yep.
and also maybe like in an email format rather than a paper format, just because like my son, he goes from his dad's
Yeah.
and my house. So sometimes those folders get misplaced or like that piece of paper will float away in the wind. So some more like concrete email or something.
Yeah, through Parent Square. And then it's on the parent to contact the teacher and say, no, I don't want. Yeah.
I think that would be fair to maybe have like something go out to parents, but I don't think it would be a great. But I mean, like if they were to send something out just to like the class parents to be like, has to review it, she might not be able to get to it before she actually wants to play the movie.
But,
Schedule looks
yeah.
like. But I'm just saying, like, I know how crazy my life gets just being a mom, so I can't imagine. But yeah, maybe just having like the teachers reach out to the parents and be like, we're going to watch this. You might want to take a look at it beforehand and let me know if your child can watch it or not.
But some general guidelines
Yeah.
by grade band, like there should never be a PG movie shown in kindergarten or first grade,
If it's
know?
outside those
Yes,
guidelines,
some
then they
big
should bring it
picture.
to you or- yeah.
Well, I just wanted to,
Oh, go ahead.
like a nature documentary that's rated PG because maybe a tiger eats a bird
Mhm.
and like a PG movie.
Yes. Exactly. Yep.
I just wanted to like why it's probably different per teachers by grade. Third grade, just saying PG movies is a little bit different than say second or first grade and signing a blank form. But I think to address your situation, it would be easy for the teachers to include the movie
Oh,
in
yeah.
the their weekly email, and then it takes the responsibility of a whole extra step.
100%. 100%.
Give a timely manner, like maybe, like a week prior.
Yep.
So parents can look and preview and look at the info. And like how she said, put it on the weekly classroom note and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that would not be a burden for us to do, and would make a big difference because I'm frankly shocked sometimes by the range of what parents allow children to watch. It's pretty
And-
yikes. sometimes. So some parents, and then some keep it really, really tight. And we want to try to meet the needs
Yeah.
of those folks.
One way that I think some teachers this year have been doing more of when they're sharing with families their celebration and it's more intentional. Some of them are now including Common Sense Media link to the film. So rather than just saying PG, because as you said, they're not all equal, right? So it gives parents an opportunity to kind of preview. And what's great about that website is it gives parents perspective and it gives an expert's perspective and it also gives kids perspective. And you can kind of get a sense of like, what's the value of this movie and is it appropriate for my child?
To that. So now that you mentioned that, because there's some people who don't celebrate certain holidays and beliefs, when it comes to that, so how does that go about, like, what may be appropriate, like Santa Claus? Some people don't believe in Santa Claus or Christmas. So, you have like a big classroom, but then like just because of that one student, why can't they change it, put it more educational or, certain things like that?
And we have come a long way in that in terms of we celebrate winter versus holidays, because we are trying to respect the wide range of beliefs and cultures and all the things. Yeah.
So a lot of what we've been talking about is classroom, but I don't have a good insight into the STEM program and the rotation. So even with that opportunity there to opt out, I don't know what's happening in the technology rotation in the STEM classroom. How do we have better insight into what technology our kids are using in that particular classroom?
I have asked Mrs. Plouffe to get us, our specialists are starting to put out monthly updates on what's going on in each of the 4 rotations. And I've asked her that to be the focus of her next newsletter. Yep.
I just want to mention really quickly, but I'll work with Kristen afterwards. But Parent Square does have an easy opt-out so that the teacher can write down what their, the regular newsletter, whatever they write, and then they can attach an opt-out to it, which when you receive that, it'll be a form at the top of the message, which you could click and just say, I want to opt out, I don't want to opt out. But we'll work to make sure that that's added to every message so that if you have a list of who needs to be.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. Things like a rainy day that maybe we couldn't really accurately predict, or are there instances where a teacher would determine, oh, let's just instead come in and have a show or a movie where maybe having that week-ish time frame wouldn't really be a feasible time frame for them?
You jump in. To be honest with you, our teachers don't tend to be a part of rainy day recess because it's their break. So the way it works is they'll put items out in the hallway, Legos, games. Some teachers, Nels as an example, will put his Chromebooks out sometimes. So never a movie, but I will ask that question if Chromebooks are out in the hall, how are you knowing what they're accessing? Because there's not a teacher right there. He is the only teacher I can think of that actually puts Chromebooks out in the hall. Do you know? For rainy day recess, you stay there. Yes, teachers can opt to stay in their room. But that's not, yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
think, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I think that's a little bit hard because it is their recess and you want them to enjoy it. So it's not like, here's your Chromebook, go work on that Google Doc I assigned to you. But the way that I would approach that, and I think others, if they were allowing that, but again, like often teachers, they know how much that they're asking of the students to be on their Chromebooks with all these different ed tech that we're using. So I think most are pretty aware of that. But then you also have, a crew of students in your class who are like, please let me play Prodigy, please. And then it's their recess time. And that might be something that a teacher says, yeah, that seems fine. We want you to enjoy your recess. And that's something you really enjoy, which if you don't know, Prodigy is, they have both English and math. And it's, and I swear I don't work for them. I'm not trying to sponsor it. It lives in my brain still. Basically it's a gamified like math instruction. And then there's opportunities when they answer enough questions that they get to kind of play. And so it is a fun thing. So honoring that fact that it is recess, we can't run around and play as much as we would, and wanting it to be fun is something I think teachers try to balance.
We wanted to share just a few resources that we like to recommend, a couple of really great articles for families. I don't know if any of you have seen this family media plan, but it's a really cool interactive process in which families can sit down together and kind of come up with their own rules and plans at home. I thought that was a really cool one. Next one, please. Yeah, ways that we can reinforce at home some of the conversations we have at school. These are both really great resources for families to check out together. You know, it's like I say, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old grandson, and it's really been fun for me to watch that in our family of how those rules are being handled. And it just makes it so great when a child has those kind of conversations at home. And building that parent awareness, because I think especially families who have older children in the home, that's often what we're seeing is second graders who were allowed to watch horror movies over the, Halloween because they've got a 16-year-old sibling at home. And so just, as much as we can help families without trying to judge, but just help them to see the impact on our youngest
I
children.
just want to say for the record, I'm not that parent.
It's
He-
hard. I know.
He did watch, got a book. Remember the movie?
That's all right. That's all right. All right, this is
Just a great resource. There's an ed tech report that maybe we can even link that somehow that came out. And this is just one of their infographics that they shared, which I thought was really helpful. So they basically have divided screen time into 3 different areas. So ed tech, which is educational technology, which is most of what we've talked about here today, the cell phone, our social media use, which is not happening at our school, and then the entertainment, which is what we talked about as where you would be notified, and trying to come up with systems for that. So this is just one of the little infographics that they had, and I thought it was really helpful.
And that's all we've got. I hope that was helpful and would love to hear your questions. Yes.
It's not really a question, but something I did for my daughter who she does a lot of like coding and design and stuff. And so to help her learn that if she went onto a website or something, I did teach her just simply like that if it's ends in org or edu, she knows that those sites are generally safe to be on. But if it says .com or .net, then she shouldn't be on there because, there's, all kinds of stuff, viruses, or the information's inaccurate. But just a little for her age range, for her to understand what's safe and not.
That's really cool. Anything else? Yes.
I was just wondering, this might be like a impossible thing, but I'm thinking about like our phones and how it tells us the screen time that we've had for the day. And if there's like something similar on the Chromebooks where could tell us like we could access our kids' Chromebook and be like, how much did they have? Because like sometimes my son wants to come home and just like watch something for an hour, and I don't really want him to do that if he's been on the screen for 3 hours already, or like not that that would happen, but I don't know if that's possible.
That's something I can find out. One thing though that I would caution with that, because I've just noticed with some of these applications, if students aren't like exiting out of the application, and I'm just like, please quietly close your Chromebook when you hear the chime, and then everyone does it, and then their program's still running. Sometimes what would happen is I would get this feedback of the analytics of whatever it was they're on, saying they're on there for like 60 minutes. And then I was like, no, they were not. And of course, then you see that no questions were answered during that time. So then you're like, why? And it's like, oh, they were just closing their Chromebook. So I'll find out if that's possible. But also, I also know that as a teacher, there's times where it hasn't accurately reflected the actual time being used.
From what I've seen, it's usually like 15 or 20 minutes. Like they're never on 3 hours,
Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
never.
Yep.
But I do think it's a good question because if we are using it in class and I have like 20 minutes of boost and then maybe I'm doing 15 minutes of iReady and then that's a STEM day or you know what I mean? Like, or then they go to another classroom for a walk to read or whatever it is. So I think it is something to be mindful of as what does it collectively look like for our students across the day?
All right, anything else? Look at that, 9:31, perfect timing. Thank you very much. It was a great conversation. And again, we're always looking for ideas for content. So please just drop us a Parent Square email with ideas. What?